The symbols on Maren's hands stopped bleeding after 3 days. They didn't fade though. If anything, they began to glow, dimly, like embers beneath skin. She wrapped them in gauze, but the light leaked through, especially at night. And the dreams started calling others to her. She didn't speak to people anymore. They just followed her. A man with no shadow. A woman who never blinked. A child who spoke only in her own nightmares, repeating them like lullabies. The hallway, they said in unison. Find the hallway. It's still growing. And it was. Reality warped more each day. Streets looped into impossible geometry. Staircases led into oceans. Forests bloomed overnight in city centers. And buildings wept black honey from the walls. Sleep-deprived survivors called it the dream skin. The thin, wrinkled new layer forming over the old world. It was beautiful. Terrible. Alive. Maren found the first door in a place that should not have existed. The dead mall. It had burned down 5 years ago, but here it was untouched. Music still playing from speakers. Escalators groaning under no weight. And at the center of it, in the old food court, stood a single freestanding door. No fram. No hingis. Just the door. It pulsed with something deep and wrong. Its knob was bone white. Scratched above it was the same symbol on Maren's hands. The one she'd seen in dreams, the one that whispered welcome. She knew then. This was the door she had opened in her sleep. And now she had to close it. But it wasn't as simple as turning the key. Because the dreamwalker was waiting. The moment Maren stepped into the mall, she heard the laughter. Her own laughter, but stretched, distorted, echoing in endless spirals. She stepped forward, trembling, the silver key clenched so hard it cut her palm. The other Maren stepped out from behind the food court counter, barefoot, grinning. Her dress was stitched from old bed sheets. Her eyes held whole galaxies of nightmares. It's too late, she cooed. You dreamed me into life. I've rooted myself. Every sleeping soul is mine now. Maren raised the key. Then I'll lock the door with you inside. The dreamwalker tilted her head, curious. Then lunged. The fight wasn't physical. It was mental. Emotional. Dream logic. Their bodies flickered between forms. Childhood selves, monstrous versions, skeletal frames, memory ghosts. The mall warped around them. Stores turned into scenes from old dreams. Her childhood bedroom, her mother's funeral. The night she first sleepwalked and woke in the woods. Maren staggered toward the door. Every step peeling reality from her body like paint. The dreamwalker screamed behind her. But the scream sounded scared. Maren touched the doorknob. The key fit. She turned it. The world sucked inward, collapsing like lungs exhaling for the last time. Wind howled. Shadows screamed. Everything folded into the door, including herself. She is still falling. Still locking. Still dreaming. But the dreamwalker is trapped behind the door again. For now. And somewhere in the dead mall, if you find the door, just the door, no frame, no hinges, you'll hear a voice from the other side whisper. The door in the dead mall is gone now, swallowed in the collapse. Some say it never existed. That the mall never existed. But those who saw it, those who stood before that bone-white knob and heard the scream behind it, they remember. And they don't sleep anymore. It started small. Children murmuring Maren's name in their sleep. A nursery painting melting into a hallway of flickering lights. A man waking up with a silver key clenched in his fist and no memory of where it came from. Then the dreams started sinking. One night, 1,000 people across the world shared the same dream. Of a woman falling through a door made of bone. Her arms outstretched, bleeding symbols from her palms. The next day, hospitals overflowed with cases of sleep paralysis and spontaneous bleeding from the eyes. They called it oniric transmission syndrome. But those who knew the truth gave it a simpler name. The dreamwalker's echo. Because Maren, in trying to lock the door, didn't end the nightmare. She became part of it. A firewall. A seal. But not a cure. And now her mind stretches across the dreamscape like a net, catching the fragments of her other self, holding them back. Barely. Sometimes she speaks through other people's dreams, warning them, guiding them, whispering, "Don't let her in. Don't open the door. Don't dream of me." But it's too late. The dream is alive now. It has roots, tendrils, memory, and it remembers the scream that shattered the sky. So if you ever find yourself standing in a hallway that shouldn't exist, where every door bears a symbol you don't understand, don't touch the knob. Don't listen to the voice behind it. And above all, don't dream about Maren. 'Cause once you do, the night her mother stopped blinking, Nia knew the dream had come back. It always started the same way. The humming. A low, deep vibration in the walls, like a swarm of bees trapped behind the plaster, buzzing to a beat only the sleeping could hear. Then her mother, who hadn't spoken in weeks, would open her mouth and say things that didn't belong to her. "She's holding the door shut with her spine," she whispered once, eyes wide and empty. "But it's bending. Bending. The wood is cracking." Nia would cover her ears. Cry. Try not to dream. Because Nia was different. She didn't just see the dreamwalker in her sleep. She heard her when she was awake. In whispers. In the voices of people on the radio, the flicker of strangers' eyes, the way dogs stopped barking when she passed. They knew. Something inside her was infected. She carried a piece of that locked door inside her like a splinter in the soul. Her grandmother, before she vanished, called it a seed. Maren tried to bury the nightmare. But seeds don't stay dead in the dark. They grow. Now Nia stood by her mother's bedside, watching her breathe like someone drowning in slow motion. Her eyes twitched beneath the lids. Her lips moved. Nia leaned close. "You're the key," her mother whispered. "You're the new door." Nia pulled back in horror, but it was too late. Her fingertips began to burn. A faint white glow pulsed beneath the skin, symbols curling and shifting just like in the stories, just like in the old dreams. And then, crack. Not from the ceiling, not from the walls, from the sky. The stars outside her window twisted, rearranged, formed a shape she recognized but had never been taught. The symbol of return. She wasn't the only one dreaming anymore. Somewhere else in the ruins of the dead mall, the air tastes of salt and ash. From the rubble something shifts. Not a door. Not yet. But a frame. A new one. Being built slowly. By invisible hands. Its walls pulsed like muscle around a bone. The air smelled like burnt paper in old hospitals. Every step Maren took down the corridor made the floor groan. Not beneath her weight, but in recognition. She was expected. The hollow man waited at the end, arms still spread in mockery of an embrace. Up close, his skin was stitched together from faces. Familiar ones. Some were hers. Some weren't human at all. His voice oozed through the air like oil. "You kept me in the dream too long, Maren. Now I get to wear your world." She took another step. The hallway twisted behind her, sealing shut like a throat. "This isn't your world," she said. Her voice was shaking, but inside something was starting to burn. Rage. Memory. Defiance. "It's mine." The hollow man laughed. It echoed from the mirrors along the corridor. Mirrors that began to ripple like water. In each one, Maren saw a different version of her life. A version where she had never woken up. One where she had become the hollow man herself. One where the girl on the bed had pulled her inside. "You're already dreaming," he whispered. "You never stopped. You just shifted layers." Maren reached into her coat pocket. Her fingers brushed something unexpected, something she hadn't put there. A matchbook. From her grandfather's old cabin. She opened it. One match left. Scribbled inside, in a hand she barely remembered. "If it bleeds, burn it." She looked up at the hollow man. He smiled. Wide. Eager. "You can't burn what isn't real." She struck the match. The flame bloomed blue. And the mirror screamed. Each reflection shattered inward, drawing the corridor in on itself like a collapsing lung. Fire tore through the flesh hall, licking up the walls, catching on the hollow man's patchwork skin. He staggered back, laughing, then shrieking, as the faces stitched into him began to wake up and fight back. Maren ran. Not a way forward. Straight into the fire. Through it. And burst out the other side. She landed hard on asphalt. Cold, real. Her knees scraped. The city skyline loomed overhead, but the sky was no longer broken. It was whole. Silent. Still. Maren sat up slowly. The hollow man was gone. The dream had collapsed behind her like a dying wave. The matchbook in her hand had turned to ash. But in the puddle beside her, Her reflection blinked a beat late. And somewhere, far off, the sound of clicking fingers echoed through the gutters. The breath of the walls became a rhythm, a panicked, uneven panting that mirrored her own. Paint peeled back in strips like old scabs, revealing a layer beneath that pulsed with veins. The hallway that led to her bedroom had become longer, stretching impossibly far into flickering shadow. The mouths along the walls murmured secrets she wasn't meant to hear. Don't look at it. It already sees you. You were born with the gate inside. Maren's legs moved without consent, drawn toward the hallway like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. The air was thicker now. Every step through it felt like wading through grief. Her fingers brushed the wall, and one of the mouths kissed her palm. She should have screamed, but no sound came. Halfway down the corridor, the door appeared. She knew it. Had seen it night after night. Carved from dark wood, swollen with rot, locked by a rusted latch she'd never dared to open. It throbbed with heat now, like something inside was alive. The dream always ended before this part. She always woke up. But now, there would be no waking. She reached for the latch. Behind her, the mirror shattered. Not with a crash, but a low, wet tearing, as if reality itself was being peeled open like skin. The other Maren had stepped out. Only, it wasn't quite her anymore. Its limbs bent wrong, like they'd been broken and hastily reassembled. Its smile had widened, stretching ear to ear, no teeth, just blackness. And it spoke with a voice like cracking bone. You brought it through. You broke the sky. Now you must feed it. The latch clicked open. And the door began to breathe too. Her nightmare broke reality. The moment she screamed, the sky split like glass, and the world began to bleed her dreams into waking life. It was a jagged sound, her scream, not just of fear, but of something deeper, ancient, like her soul remembered a truth her mind refused. The clouds tore open with a sound like shattering mirrors, and from the fractures spilled not rain, but pieces of the dreamscape, warped staircases that led nowhere, doors that opened to endless darkness, and eyes, too many eyes, blinking where none should be. Maren staggered backward, her bare feet scraping across the cold tile of her apartment floor, now flickering like an old film reel between her world and the other one. Her bedroom wall buckled and unfurled like paper soaked in ink, revealing the hallway from her nightmares. The one lined with whispering mouths and walls that breathed. She hadn't slept properly in weeks. The dreams had grown teeth. Each night they hunted her, and each day she tried to forget. But dreams don't like being ignored. Now the rules were gone. She turned slowly. The mirror in the hallway no longer showed her reflection. Instead it showed her the other Maren, the one who never woke up. That version smiled, blood running from the corners of her mouth in neat, deliberate lines. Behind her, shadows twisted into shapes too precise to be random. Shapes that waited. Maren blinked, but the vision didn't disappear. Her dream had come through, and it was hungry. She stood, if standing was the right word, in the void that pulsed with a slow, titanic heartbeat. There was no ground, no sky, only weightless darkness stitched together by distant glimmers of memory. The shapes around her no longer lurked, they gathered. Watching. Worshipping. Maren had returned. Or maybe she had arrived for the first time. The world she came from, that brittle shell of apartments and calendars in sunlight, was crumbling behind her, fibers unraveling like old lace. And through the tear she'd left in its center, the dreaming bled freely now. Streets twisted into spirals. People sleepwalked with their eyes sewn shut. Rivers flowed uphill, full of teeth instead of fish. In this place, Maren was no longer hunted. She was becoming. The figures in the dark, the long-limbed, half-formed gods of forgotten fears, knelt as she passed. They whispered her name, not the one she had spoken aloud in her old life, but the true one. The one stitched from scream and silence. The one etched in her bones like birthmarks. Ahead stood a throne made not of stone or gold, but of unanswered questions. High and jagged, carved from the spines of dreams that had never found endings. Maren approached it. Each step she took, 1,000 people woke up screaming. Each breath she drew, another rule of the waking world unraveled. She sat. The void shuddered in approval. From the mirror world her other self stepped forward, now whole and serene, a perfect reflection. She knelt before the throne and whispered, We are one now. Maren smiled. Not a cruel smile. Not a human one. A smile wide enough to birth a new reality. And behind her, the dreaming world opened like a wound, and the first storm of nightmares made flesh began to rain. Would you like the story to continue from here? Or explore another character's view of the broken world? Roads curled into circles. Time blinked sideways. The moon no longer hung in the sky. It followed people, peering in their windows like a curious eye. No one could tell what was real anymore because reality had been evicted. And Maren watched it all from her throne of endings, her eyes wide with an ancient knowing. Her body was no longer skin and blood, but a silhouette made of folded places. Inside her, entire neighborhoods dreamed in unison, trapped, feeding her. But somewhere something resisted. In a house where time hadn't fully broken, a small girl named Etta stood beneath a flickering light bulb, holding her breath. She had seen the sky crack. She had felt her dreams pull against her skull like wet fabric. But she had not screamed. Not once. Her mother floated 3 feet off the ground now, stuck in a loop of whispering the same lullaby backwards. Her father hadn't slept in days. He said sleep was where she waits now. But Etta stayed awake for another reason. She had seen Maren's face once. In a puddle. In a dream. On the inside of her eyelids. And Maren had whispered something to her. You can unmake me. No one else remembered. But Etta did. She didn't know how. Not yet. But in the heart of the unraveling world, a child who had not yet been devoured began to walk toward the place where the sky had split. The throne had a crack in it. And something was waking inside it. Shall we follow Etta into the storm? Or return to Maren, now a god inside a crumbling dream?